back to the Kaiser Report. I'm Max Kaiser. Time now to go to New York and speak with Matthew Mellon. He's an entrepreneur, a businessman, and Bitcoin investor. Welcome to the Kaiser Report, Matthew.
Thank you. Thank you, Max. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, excellent. I should also mention that Matthew is the founder of luxury shoemaker Harry's of London, and along with his wife, Nicole Hanley, will soon launch a fashion label called Hanley Mellon. Now, my first question, Matthew Mellon, is that you hail from one of the oldest names in banking. Obviously, the Mellon name is a big name in finance and has been for decades. So banking is in your blood. What is it about Bitcoin that excites you?
What excites me about Bitcoin is it's the first technology where you can actually control your money, and the innovation is just endless with Bitcoin. I got introduced to the space by the Winklevoss twins, and I teamed up with Alex Waters and eFoodGo, and it was with Avalon, and we have an incubator here with several products. We're launching now CoinCo, and where we'll be able to accept tax payments for cities. We'll be able to, there's a few household names that we're bringing on board, and it's very, very, very exciting.
Okay, now when you're talking about, just to stay on the theme a little bit of control, of course, the thing about Bitcoin is that there's a limited supply. As you point out, it's regulated by the blockchain, and there's transparency in all the transactions. It seems to go against everything that people don't like about the traditional banking system. And of course, the Mellon name and Matthew Mellon, you kind of come from the traditional banking system. So are you trying to educate this banking system about the future, or are you considered a heretic, in your own family? That's my question.
Okay, so I look at this as sort of a massive game-changing technology. You had sort of just investors getting into it, and you had venture capital, and now, of course, the banks are involved. We now are backed by 3 major banks here in Manhattan that are taking it very, very seriously, and it's just the innovations are just endless, and between the relationships between banking and Bitcoin, it's there's yet a lot to be seen. As you've seen, that David Cohen, which was here last week, who has endorsed it, and then Belanowski, who is issuing this license, and of course with Barry Silbert on board and Mark Anderson. It's we're still in this innovation process, but it's been embraced, it's been accepted. And when I was traveling in China, I was in Shanghai and Beijing and Hong Kong and in London and Paris. Everyone was asking me, where's the guidance? When is America going to take charge and show guidance on regulatory issues? And at the moment, America feels it doesn't need to regulate it at the moment, but they have sort of embraced it, the innovation, and and that's what I'm really, really excited about. And I think the next 2 months until Belanowski issues his license is really it's going to be very, very compelling.
Okay, so I want to follow up on that a little bit. So, but just to put this into context, in other words, the entrepreneurial aspect of Bitcoin has fired you up as a serial entrepreneur, and you've got many entrepreneurial successes to your credit. And so this is what's got you going. Now let's talk about this regulatory framework here, because Ben Lawsky in New York, he seems to be favorable toward Bitcoin, and is New York going to emerge as a major Bitcoin hub, Matthew Mellon?
Well, it's sort of fell on our lap that way, because when you travel around the world, everyone is asking us, when is New York going to take charge? I mean, New York is sort of the center of the financial universe, and people expect guidance, from the United States. I mean, if you look at the sort of the history of the United States, we sort of play the role of super cop. We will always get involved in everybody's business. So it's just sort of, people are just have been waiting for guidance from from New York City, and thanks to Benlowski, he has sort of embraced it and taken charge of that, and I really welcome that, and it'll be interesting to see what happens, in the end results of that a year from now.
Okay, let me ask you specifically about the BIT license, which is part of what's happening in New York. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, right now he has sent out an application for all the exchanges to fill out, and I think he's going to review these exchanges and companies and basically and qualify you to see who he thinks is has got game in the business and can participate in this new innovation. I welcome. I think Barry Silbert has really sort of taken charge and has been working with all the innovation departments, with all the banks here in the city, and it'll be interesting to see what transpires in the next 2 months.
All right, now, you have a company in New York. You mentioned it earlier, Coin Validation. You're hooking up with Alex Waters, very fine entrepreneur. And the idea of coin validation has run into some, I would say, some resistance or backlash with the Bitcoin community at large. Can you talk, because if I understand it, you're trying to create a whitelist of Bitcoin that is regulatory friendly. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. What exactly is coin validation about, and why do you get some of the feedback and backlash that you have?
Well, with any new innovation, you're going to have a lot of debate, and I welcome this debate. The problem is that businesses, people don't know how to have access to Bitcoin, and one way banks will look at it is you have your social security number, and then you have your checking account number, and then you have your wallet address. And as you know, with the blockchain being fully transparent, you can see every transaction going forward and backward. And coin validation just sort of brings light to that. No one is using the technology at the moment. It was just something that was asked of us to create because people were concerned that America would abolish and ban Bitcoin. So basically, coin validation was simply just a backup sort of insurance policy to show regulators, banks, and government that it's actually a very a transparent, very cool technology. That's really what that was all about. It sort of rolled out rather poorly, but that's just sort of kept in our file cabinet. We have not rolled that out.
Well, I guess what people are curious, because coin validation, it seems to go against the ethos of Bitcoin to some degree, because part of why people are attracted to Bitcoin is there's a certain anonymity factor, although it's not completely anonymous, but there is a way to be anonymous, and it is outside of the banking system during a period when banks are under severe criticism for engaging in lots of untoward activities. And you yourself have, for example, visited Julian Assange when he in the Ecuadorian embassy, and you've been a big supporter of Julian Assange and WikiLeaks yourself, Matthew Mellon, and certainly that seems to be a bit of a contrast with going and creating or pursuing this idea of coin validation, of Bitcoin validation. Are those two things commensurate with each other? Do you see a difference with those two ideas? Do they fit each other? What do you think?
No, I don't. But first of all, I haven't visited in the embassy. I did go over and visit him when he came out of jail, and he actually spoke about Bitcoin. And I was speaking to Eric Schmidt at Google, and I asked Eric, how did you find out about Bitcoin? He said, actually, it was Julian Assange who introduced it to me. But Julian Assange is, I have some respect for him, but he's isolated as well. But that's sort of a whole other topic. I'd rather not get into that. But with coin validation, I mean, if you look at sort of what Peter Thiel, for example, with Pantera, he's a very hardcore, staunch Republican in one sense, and in one sense he's a libertarian, and he believes in transparency. And when you look at transparency, for example, I believe in entrepreneurship, fair taxation, free enterprise, and and people in America have access to Bitcoin, and so coin validation is sort of an insurance policy just for banks and regulators to have, but we have not rolled it out, as I said.
All right, let's, so in other words, if I can kind of summarize a little bit here, the primary interest you have in Bitcoin is as an entrepreneur, and then that going forward, I would imagine you see Bitcoin and cryptocurrency opening up new markets, new jobs, new opportunities, and so why not? Why shouldn't the American regulators embrace Bitcoin? Correct?
Well, I don't think Bitcoin should be regulated, and I don't think it's a currency or a commodity. I simply look at it as a protocol, and then there's some amazing, very, very cool stuff that can be built on top of it. I see it as a game changer worldwide. I find cash is very unhygienic. I see the days of credit cards are numbered. I see you paying everything with your iPhone in 5-10 years from now, and and I think that it just it's a seriously incredible technology, and I love and breathe Bitcoin, and I've never been so passionate about something in my life. Ever since I found out about a year ago, I get very, very little sleep. I'm always, I'm up very, very late every night thinking about new ways and new developments. I self-fund. I'm self-funding right now 17 coders and creating 12 projects right now. I really have, this is, I think, just a whole new wave of the future, and it's going to revolutionize banking.
Okay, we've got about 30 seconds left. If you can just touch on this new fashion label you're launching with your wife, Nicole Hanley. The name of the label is Hanley Melon. I believe this is being launched quite soon, correct?
Yes, we're launching in September, and we accept Bitcoin. It's 10 styles to create 50 looks in a carry-on bag, and Nicole is most talented. She was a designer for Ralph Lauren for 5 years, and we're very, very excited about that.
All right, fantastic. We're going to look for that coming out soon.